Rice Fame Group supports the legacies of HBCUs. Hello, welcome to Chat with HBCU Champions. I am Lacey Rice, your host, and today we have a special guest. Our guest is Coach Nick Askew from Howard University Swimming and Diving. This year, his men's team won the 2025 Northeastern Conference Swimming and Diving Championship. And this is not the first time we've had him on here. So, they're doing something over there, over at Howard. They're doing it right. So, welcome, Coach, and we're glad to have you here.
Lacey, man, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, sure. That's no problem. And congratulations on your team accomplishment this year.
Thank you. It was an incredible season. Both our men's team and our women's team had just a really tough year, but they persevered. They showed their character, and we had some good fortune at the end that allowed us to come away, walk away, with our heads held high and smiles on our face.
Okay. And your women's team actually received the runner-up trophy for the NEC.
Yeah, it's the second year in a row that our women were conference runner-ups, and what's super encouraging about that, and there's a couple things. Number one is when it was all over this particular year, our women were angry. Like they were not happy because we really thought that we had a great shot at being able to capture the title this year. The other thing was we closed the gap tremendously. The previous year we were runner-up. We were runner-up by over 300 points. And then this year we were only runner-ups by 43 points. We had the most outstanding female swimmer. We had several of our women earning gold medals in their individual events and relay events. And we were so close. So we're excited about, the future. We've got a great recruiting class. Last year was awesome. We're bringing back a lot of phenomenal returners. We'll definitely, feel the difference with those that have graduated and moved on. But I feel like we're really, really getting an amazing start to our 25-26 campaign.
Okay. So we're definitely going to talk more about your team this year. But what I want people to know is, who is Coach Askew? What's your background? How did you come into this job? And, because I said, you're doing a great job there. So,
well, thank you.
Especially considering the fact, in most sports that Howard competes in, they're in the MEAC, which is an HBCU conference.
Yeah.
But swimming and diving is one of the sports that's actually competing in what we can term a PWI conference. So,
yes,
it shows that HBCUs can win outside of its peer group at a very high, standard, because when you think swimming and diving, there's always that perception that Black folk can't swim or dive.
Won't.
Now, I would be the example of that. I would be the example of that. I don't know if I can float anymore or not, but
we're gonna have to fix that. We're going to have to fix. Matter of fact, listen. Our very next interview, which I'm hoping will be next year around the same time, because we would have won another championship. I want you to start the whole conversation with Coach Nick. I learned how to swim. Like, you've got to promise me that, bro. You've got to promise me that. And
Okay.
I'll teach you. We'll figure out what it takes.
Okay. Okay. All right. But let's talk about your background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I honestly think I don't think I had like an extravagant upbringing.
Hmm.
When I reflect on it and um, have a moment to really kind of break it down, I realize that my life is truly blessed. I mean, God
Hmm.
honestly just orchestrated so many different things and is continuing to orchestrate so many different things in my life that I have nothing but thankfulness and gratefulness in my heart
Hmm.
for the way everything unfolded. I'm originally from North Carolina. I grew up in a very small town called Kinston, North Carolina, K-Town for all my folks who know about it. Um, and I was one of three boys,
Hmm.
hardworking parents. Mom was a nurse, so she worked at the hospital and then the dialysis center in Kinston, North Carolina. My father would practice law and real estate, and essentially did everything he possibly could to make sure that we, as a family, had what we needed. And I'm super grateful for that situation. And I grew up during a time where we, like I said, we were three boys. Um, when my parents went to work, we were out the house. So I'm talking
Hmm.
about doors closed, windows locked, no form of entry of being able to get back in the house because my parents were like, "You're not going to tear up this house while we gone." And so that made us have to spend a lot of time outside um,
Hmm.
and activity and sports, whether it was organized or playing football in the street or in the grass. And I laugh because when we played football in the grass and then the fields next to us, or at the park. Like we didn't wear pads, we didn't wear helmets. I promise you, there were multiple occasions where we had concussions and didn't even know it, and wouldn't let anybody else know it. We'd kind of, realize that we were hurt and kind of shake it
Hmm.
off, shrug it off. But, whew, yeah. Had we known better then at what we know now.
Hmm.
Um, so we spent a lot of time outside, and I was very fortunate to grow up about a block away from a community center. And
Hmm.
it had an education center there and a welcome center. It had a baseball field, softball field, a track, tennis courts, and and a swimming pool. And my older brothers, they were lifeguards there. So during the early morning, I would trek with them, walk over after racing to breakfast because my brothers and I competed in everything. So we wanted to see who was going to finish their breakfast the first, the fastest, and went to the pool every single day, whether it was with them for practice or with them for work.
Hmm.
Spent so much time there that I felt like, man, I'm not getting in the water. It's cold. I don't want to get wet. I want to have to go through the whole process of drying off and, all those different things. And one day my brother, my middle brother, Mark, who I really associate a lot of my journey to, he and I, we fought a lot. And I guess he got tired of me being around the pool deck and not getting in the pool, and he just kind of tossed me in the water. I shouldn't say kind of. He tossed me in the water, and I was airborne, hit the water.
Hmm.
I was like, man, this is I don't know what I'm gonna do, and it was honestly that moment where I had to decide whether I was gonna sink or swim, and I
Hmm.
started swimming, and I swam to the edge of the pool, and he walked away, and he was like, I told you he could swim in the deep end. I told you, I told you, I told you. And from that point on, I just continued to swim, continued to
Hmm.
swim, continued to swim, joined the team, started competing, had a great age group career, went to Junior Olympics, competed for my high school team, did a lot and had an opportunity to come to Howard University on an athletic scholarship and had great coaches, throughout both age group and even here at Howard, and great experiences. And yeah, that's really what got me into swim.
Hmm. Wow, that's great. Well, we had a similar story up until the part that you start talking about all those facilities that were close to you, because
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
yeah, we spent a lot of time. I mean, it's three of us,
Hmm.
three guys. Um, we played outside all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, when we played football either in the street
Hmm.
or in the grass. And
Mhm.
actually, we played a whole lot of football. We would play in the backyard. We
Yeah.
play out in the front. We play out in the field. So we had a lot of that, what you were saying, and I definitely understand it. Now, one difference was, for whatever reason, when we played, and we tackle hard, and it wasn't supposed to be tackle in the street. It's supposed to be touch.
Yeah.
However, everybody didn't follow the rule. We really never got hurt. And when
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, when you were talking about that, now I might have had a concussion once, and that was because I had sticky hands.
Okay.
And I was going for a pass, and I didn't see a mailbox. And I mean,
there was a mailbox on your route.
Right. And so
Right there.
But that, I mean, of all the times that we played, we never got hurt.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that we didn't, because
it's
like
a wonder.
Yeah.
It's a wonder, because I honestly remember, we didn't just tackle people. We tried to actually do WWF moves. Like, we were suplexing people and DDT, and had no idea how dangerous this stuff was. And it was like the merger of professional wrestling and football, and all kinds of other stuff that I would highly, parents, do not let your kids do this anymore. Don't. You heard it from me, Coach Nick. Don't do that.
But I definitely feel you though, and for me, as far as swim, I did try to learn.
Okay.
It just, for whatever reason, my younger brother took to the water a lot better than I did. And so, like I said, I just never developed the skills to really know how to swim. Now, I can get in the water, I can go underwater, I can move around underwater and all that. I can't float.
Okay.
And I never figured that out.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Well, believe it or not, I would say the vast majority of people cannot float. Floating just has to do more with body composition. So, the more denser mass or more muscular people, they're going to most likely sink more towards the bottom. But you can still tread water. So even, I would say 100% of our team cannot float, right? But floating's not necessarily essential to being able to swim. It is an added advantage to be able to naturally float. And what you want to do is just relax in the water, lay your head back, find that body position, and then just move your arms and the legs in a nice relaxed pattern so that you'll stay above the water.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Is why when I used to hop in the water, I sink immediately. So
you were just probably all muscle. That's what it was.
Well, I mean, but since you said that, I'm probably able to float now, though.
You go right to the top.
Right. So, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And so, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
He said, I can probably float really good now.
Right. I don't have to try it out. I mean, I have a place where I can swim and so I'll probably, in fact, I used to work at the place, and that's the other weird part. I used to work at a pool, and I used to work for an organization that ran pools.
Okay.
Because I worked in Fort Knox at a physical fitness center. Our physical fitness center had an indoor pool. But at that particular time, Fort Knox probably had about 5 or 6 pools around the post. And we were responsible for all of those pools. So my job was to help clean those pools. So, I did learn how to clean pools.
Yeah.
And but like I said, I just, that swimming aspect that just kind of escaped me.
It's never too late. I get asked all the time, Lacey, like they say parents, they'll ask me, when's the best time to teach my child to swim? And the answer is always the same. Whether if it's an adult saying, when is the best time for me to learn how to swim? The answer is always the same. Today, right now is the best time to learn how to swim. Because again, when we look at the statistics of 64% of African Americans have limited or no swimming ability, and we drown at 3 times the rate of our white counterparts. And it's not just exclusive to Black and brown people. Drowning is a pandemic across the world, and it has no discrimination of terms of religion, creed, body type, right? Whether you float or whether you don't, anything. And it's something that we all want to safeguard ourselves against by prevention. So learning how to swim, and it doesn't have to be at a competitive level or going and swimming laps all the time. You just want to do what's necessary to be able to safeguard yourself in the event that there's a water emergency. So right now and today is the best day to start learning. And it doesn't even have to be in the water yet. You do have to get in the water eventually to learn how to swim. You can start with having a conversation like we just did and having that revelation of, wow, I may be able to float now. And that's probably going to be an easier way for me to enter into the water in my mind. Okay, all right, I'm actually going to go to the pool this weekend, and I'm going to test this out. I'm going to see if Coach Nick is right.
Right. Okay. Well, the other thing is that I was in the military, so we were taught water survival skills. Well, we were taught in the classroom water survival skills. And it looked great on film.
Yeah.
And on the chalkboard, that looked great.
But that makes
everything.
Sense.
But yeah,
inflate the pants, cinch the belts, wrap it around, all that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But once again, I guess that is, especially since you mentioned the rates of drowning, it would behoove me to try to get into a water survival class as well, just because you never know.
Yep, that's right. I mean, you think about how many opportunities you've had in your lifetime, and then again, as you live, you're going to have different exposures and experiences, and you don't want to be apprehensive when you're around the water. Whether you're going to a backyard cookout and someone has a pool, or whether you're going to the beach. The majority of us in this country, when we do vacation time, we're going towards some type of water space, whether it's a lake or a river or the beach or a pool. That's where we normally congregate. And us, we're going to bring the grill, we're going to bring the music, right? We're going all the food, the drinks and everything. We're going to have a good time. And you don't want to have in the back of your mind, all right, don't let me get too close to this edge. All right, I can only go ankle deep at the beach. You want to be able to feel comfortable and know, you're still going to know your limits, but at the same time, you're not going to put yourself in a situation where, if something happens, you slip or fall, or, anything else could happen, that you're going to know how to properly respond and take care of yourself and maybe even a loved one.
Okay. Well, that's great advice. I really appreciate it because, and that's why we call this chat with HBCU Champions. It's just not, straightforward questions all the time.
Yeah.
But we actually get to chat about various things. And so with that in mind, and I know we're a bit off from where I want to be, but so do any of your athletes help teach others how to swim or, water safety or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely, Lacey. I'm glad you asked, because I think even more than winning the championships and being named champions in that regard, I think our entire program is a roster of champions in life, because they are so much more dynamic than just touching the wall first or having the best dives and, setting records and things like that. I always tell people, those are great. We like that. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for in our program is character. And we are blessed with the opportunity to be in a space that so many of our counterparts, our peers, are not. And if we can do something about that, then we should. It's our obligation, in my opinion. It's our responsibility, in my opinion. So everyone that's a part of our team, whenever we travel, we look for opportunities to either go into schools or community centers and chat with the students, with the teachers, with the community. We were just down in Orlando, Florida for our winter training. So every winter, we go to a destination and we take the entire team and staff to be able to train off the normal grid, right? Away from the campus and our normal kind of routine and do something new. It's tough. And we throw the kitchen sink at them while we're there because it's training, but that's the only thing they get to focus on during that time because the classes are over and they're away from their normal environment. But this past winter, we were in Orlando, Florida, training. That's one of our normal spots. The Central Florida area has been really good to us. And we get this this message saying that the mayor of Eatonville, which is the home of Howard alum Toni Morrison, wants to present you all with the key to the city. Key to the city for a swim and dive team? What? At an HBCU? So I quickly go and like, has any swim and dive team ever been presented the key to the city? And no one has yet been able to come back to us and say that that has ever happened. So that's the first time for any collegiate program to be ever given the key to the city. And what was amazing about that is we were able to go to the town hall, meet with the mayor of Eatonville, have the school children come to this assembly, and we were able to talk to them about water safety and drowning prevention and the pathways that learning how to swim can open up for you. And it was amazing. So just being there and getting the individuals to have that exposure, for us is important. And then we also offer swim classes here on Howard's campus. So we invite people to come to our campus through clinics and our camps. Our summer camps are sold out every single year. We have representation from over 32 states and 4 different countries in the last 6 years that have come to our camp. And it is amazing to see what they are fueled up with when they're here. My coaching staff, our swimmers and divers are here as a part of the coaching staff for the camp. So they're getting that opportunity to engage with us, get information, fueling up from the Howard experience, the HBCU experience in this space. So again, our swim and dive team, they are truly champions in a larger regard. And I couldn't be more proud of than each and every one of them.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So, hopefully that can set an example for the HBCU programs. And I know a lot of them do various things. They are active in their communities and whatnot. But as you said, I've never heard of any of them getting that type of recognition, especially away from your home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, again, it's we want to be that beacon of light for other HBCUs to consider bringing back their swim and dive programs, because so many of them had swim and dive programs before, and unfortunately, they started to disband their programs over the years. And then we are the lone one right now, the lone team standing. And our responsibility is, if we're going to be the only one, then we need to show why we should be the only one. It would be amazing to have North Carolina A&T, Florida A&M, Morehouse, Spelman, all these other HBCUs have programs again and have us being able to compete amongst each other, and then go on to our respective conference championships and the nationals. Because again, one of the things that we've learned from camp is there's no shortage of elite level swimmers coming up through the pipeline of color. The difference is our roster, just like everyone else's roster, can only be at a certain limit per NCAA rules. So we can't have every single person. So it would be amazing to have other options. If a swimmer or diver wants to have an HBCU education, which we hope that they would, to be able to explore, and then let let the best team, swim it out, dive it out when it comes time to compete.
Okay. Well, I'll have to talk to the president of my alma mater because they have an Olympic regulation pool.
Yes.
Never had a team.
Wow.
Didn't use the pool correctly, and I think they had to repair. They had to spend money for repairs. I think it was last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the local community used the pool, but we never did. And that when I was in school at that particular institution, which will remain nameless, we had a pool. It wasn't Olympic regulation or anything, but that's where we as students would gather sometimes. They would have pool parties and all type of things. Unfortunately, when they built the new, that was in the old gym.
Okay.
And so they built a new facility, and that's where they put the Olympic regulation pool. I mean, we had gymnastics room there.
Wow.
A gymnastics training room.
Wow.
Didn't have a team. First team was first HBCU to ever have gymnastics was a couple years ago with FIS.
Yep.
And now there are three. Well, now there are two.
Two.
There should have been three, but won't talk about that either. But once again, somebody has. Sometimes some people have a vision.
Yeah.
They just don't execute that vision.
Right.
Because my alma mater, like I said, it could have been, and like you said too, there used to be that time when a lot of several HBCUs had programs, but they let that go. Great opportunity to have more students, and I'm pretty sure swimmers probably have probably do very well in the classroom.
Yeah. Especially our program. We have to. It's a number one priority. My team knows it. If you want to get on our coaching staff's bad side, don't do well academically, because at the end of the day, you come to the university wherever you are, especially here at Howard, to get a great education to set you up for life. And swimming can be 1B, right? Academics is priority number 1A. Swimming and diving is priority number 1B. They can coexist at the same time. They have to, because we know in the hierarchy of sport that the swim and dive team can't have the lowest GPA. Like, we need to make sure that we are bolstering the athletic department's GPA. And additionally, we want our team to be successful. So we continue to encourage them and support them with tutoring and academic support to make sure that they are getting, as high as GPA. What our goal is to be in that same conversation as the Ivy League swim and dive teams, right? So if Harvard, Stanford, if their team GPA is 3.4, then Howard swim and dive needs to be 3.4 or better. We were very fortunate this past year. We just got grade reports. Our women's team in the fall had a 3.62 average GPA. And then this spring semester, which is always the tougher semester, because this is when our championship national block is and we travel that much more, the women earned a 3.5. So it's outstanding in the classroom this year. We were right on par with the Ivy League schools, and our men did exceptionally well. They were 3.0 in the fall and 3.2 in the spring. So we're still climbing that. We're still helping them in every way we can. And the biggest way is letting them know that that is absolutely our highest priority, is to continue to perform academically.
Right. Okay. All right. That's it. That's what it's all about. You're a student first, you're an athlete second.
That's right.
And I know it could probably be tough. Now I would imagine though, because swimming and diving is not a revenue sport, that maybe you don't have as much demand from a student athlete for NIL.
Mm, mm, yeah.
That's just my perception, and
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. I think, the reality of the matter is NIL is not as big of a thing for Olympic sports. You're going to have a few athletes in each one of those sports, different institutions who really reap the benefits and get the big checks. But the majority of it is heavily favored towards, your big sports like football and basketball, most especially. But it doesn't mean that, your Olympic sport athletes can't be able to benefit in some form or fashion. It just won't be, the multi-zeroed checks like 10,000, 100,000, $1 million type of things. We're talking about, a couple $100 per year, maybe a couple $1,000 per year, depending on, what they do as an individual. We do have several of our swimmers and divers that do have NIL deals. And they do pretty well. Again, they're not buying grandma and mommy and daddy a new house. But they're able to, do a little bit better in their day-to-day lives of taking care of themselves. But we think that can change, especially with our swim and dive program being, on the international stage. We have a lot of support from our big time sponsors like Speedo and Mael. We have some of the biggest contracts in all of swimming and diving collegiately through those sponsorships, and we're continuing to work on ways to explore, to be creative of allowing our student athletes to be able to reap the benefits in a safe way of what's going on with NIL, in this new collegiate landscape. But at the end of the day, we tell our swim and dive team is like, listen, in the recruiting process, if you're trying to get into NIL to make, hundreds and millions and $1,000, and that's what another program is offering you out the gates. Listen, that ain't us. We just have to be realistic about it. That's not how we're going to be. You'll be able to benefit, and what that amount goes up to, will obviously have a lot to do with what you do with it. But we're not able to compete with some of the other schools in the Power Four who are offering, hey, if you sign with us, you get $10,000 a year just for showing up. Yeah, nah. Not yet.
Right.
Like I said, we're investigating some really creative ways to be able to, again, help our student athletes reap those benefits. But we know where our priorities are, and we're not going to shift to that huge financial compensation, priority and get into that game like that. I just don't think that that's going to be what's of most value from being a part of our program. I think we have, a different type of value proposition, of being Howard University, being swim and dive program. Yeah.
Just, primarily getting that Howard degree, like you were saying, that speaks volumes and gets you into a lot of doors that, if your degree was from somewhere else, you wouldn't even have a chance.
Yeah. So, yeah. No question. And I think, that adds to the value proposition. You had mentioned not generating revenue. I think our program is getting to the point where, we do generate revenue. It does not, we still have more expenses than what we generate. But again, as a part of a swimming and dive program in the collegiate space, we sell out every single one of our home meets, and that's unheard of. And our biggest one, which is Battle at the Burr, coming up this October, it'll be our 4th edition of that, is the biggest swim and dive meet in the entire country at the collegiate level. And I dare anyone to argue me differently because of what it does for the community, what it does on a global stage. But that's our biggest home meet. It's our home opener against Georgetown University for the past couple of years. And, we're not talking about just $2 seats, $5 seats. We're talking about $20 for general admission and $200 for VIP. And we sold out in less than 5 hours. We sold out a swim meet on the campus of an HBCU in less than 5 hours. And we have attendance of close to 1,500 people every single Battle at the Burr. So we're generating some money. We're helping take
Mm-hmm.
some of the strain off of the athletic department in the budget side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing to find new ways to be creative, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool to see the other institutions kind of taking note and trying
Mm-hmm.
to use some of it for their benefit of how they can do things. But we've been doing this for decades. The popularity of our swim and dive program has been really, really at the forefront for a long time. And then when Sports Illustrated got hold of it, and that's when we made a daily cover, that's when the world found out, what we do here and how special that it is.
Okay. So talk a bit more about the battle at the Burr. Why do they, is the Burr the name of the facility
Yep.
or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The facility is named after John H. Burr. So we affectionately call it the Burr.
Okay. Okay. And you said over 1,500?
1,500. Now, mind you, it's 15. We have about an average of 1,500 people who come to the meet every single year. Our natatorium only has 422 stadium seats in the balcony. So I'm sure you're like, okay, well, these numbers ain't numbering, coach. Don't worry, they do, because what we do is we actually take over the basketball arena. And the basketball arena, we how it is. You get when you're at church and ain't no more seats in church, what do you have? You got an overflow.
Right.
There you go. So the basketball arena is our overflow, and we deck that out with a DJ. This year we had an art exhibit there. We had a special conversation chat with Olympic gold medalist, world champion Simone Manuel, who was on the stage. We had the 2 Jumbotron TVs broadcasting live the meet. We had vendors there. We had the Champions Corner, the Olympians Corner. Again, Simone Manuel, Cullen Jones, Maritza McClendon, and Rowdy Gaines, the voice of swimming, the person that you've heard over the last, we typically only watch swimming every 4 years for the Olympics. Well, the voice that you have heard for the last, 15, almost 20 years has been Rowdy Gaines. He came to Howard University to battle at the Burr and commentated for that meet. So imagine our swimmers competing in that meet and hearing their name called by the voice of swimming and diving. Just amazing. Kyle Sockwell, who's an amazing swim and dive influencer now. He was here, president of the meet. It's star-studded. We have that overflow. Again, the impact is huge because thinking about swimming and diving, people of color only make up 1.5% of the population of swimmers and divers in all of NCAA and all of USA Swimming. And for us to sell out a meet, and the majority of people that are in the stands that are in attendance are people of color. And you think about, again, the statistics, that's why it's the biggest swim meet. That shows you that we are making the most incredible impact that cannot be duplicated anywhere else, right? And that's why it's the biggest swim meet. And the fanfare that goes on during that meet, we've got the DJ just playing the tunes the whole time, keeping the vibe. The energy is high. The swimming is fast. The diving is phenomenal during the entire competition. And that's what we realized. It's like, listen, it's sport. Even if you're not a swimmer, you've never been to a swim meet, you don't understand it, you understand racing. It's whoever gets to the wall first. You don't have to know the difference between breaststroke and butterfly. We do, right? And you understand who gets to the wall first. So it's an incredible event. And, again, we're looking towards a sellout crowd for this upcoming October. And the special thing is we get to celebrate the Friday night before with the ring ceremony. So the Friday night before the meet, we have a big VIP reception and kind of an opening of the season. And this year we'll be giving all of our men's team their 2025 championship ring. So there'll be the first chance for everyone to see the ring and our team to get their rings for winning the conference championship.
So how many teams are involved with this?
At Battle at the Bird?
Yeah.
Just 2. Right.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yes. And the NCAA championships over the years has not sold out their crowd. Now, mind you, they're a multi-day event in a much bigger venue, so it is going to be more difficult. But you contrast some of the powerhouse teams in the country that have Olympians and world record setters, etc. They don't sell out their home meets or haven't been selling out their home meets. And again, they most likely have bigger venues, etc. But yeah, it's different. It's different here. So we use that as a springboard, if I can say that, into the season. And that's really one of the things that we feel is absolutely just the fuel going into the season towards conference championship. And our men's and women's team, they remember that energy, they remember that feeling, and they take that into conference. And that's again why I think we've continued to be successful over the past couple of years.
Okay, so my graduate degrees are from a Power 4.
Okay,
and they do have a real nice natatorium. And I haven't been necessarily to a meet, but I've been in the venue during a meet, and I've seen what they do, because they have to open the doors. They have to open certain sides because it gets kind of hot in there.
yeah.
And so I've been able to look in and just see all the people and how much they enjoy it, and and it's loud in there, and it's like, man, and you're talking, and that's not 1,500. That's not 1,500 people. So just what you're talking about, that is truly amazing, and wow. I mean, it's
we make it an event. Listen, ain't no party like an HBCU party. And we put our own little stamp on it, and it's worked for us. And we're so grateful that our supporters find it as a space that they want to come to. They want to invite others to, because again, that's going to change the whole conversation, right? When you come to a swim meet and you see people swimming, and you see people who look like you in the water and competing at this high level, and it immediately tells you that, wait, this myth that we've been buying into all these years, and this generational trauma that we may have had that's kept us away from the water. Wow, I see myself in that young man or that young woman that's competing, on the diving board or in the pool, swimming back and forth, swimming their hearts out. And when they win, they're getting out with this huge celebration. So, it's very special. And it can't be duplicated.
Right. Well, I mean, as a side note, and you just, you mentioned a couple of times the percentage of us that are engaged, and, the drowning aspects and all that. I actually come from the same county as Carl Bashir.
Okay.
The first Navy diver. I know. I went to church with his relatives.
No kidding.
So
wow.
So, and he kind of, he broke barriers.
Yep.
And myths and different things like that. And so you would have thought that there might have been more of an emphasis on encouraging more, because he was in the Navy. And for you, that was one reason why the Navy was not attractive to me.
Is it swimming?
Right, because I had heard that they throw you, they, like you were saying, your experience was they kind of just throw you in.
Yeah.
If you can't swim. Now, if they see you starting to drown, they will go in and get you. Yeah. But you eventually have to learn how to swim, or you can't stay in the Navy.
Right.
And so and there are a lot of African Americans in the Navy.
Yeah.
A whole lot. So, there has to be a way for us to dispel the myths, to encourage more. I maybe that movie that oh man, the movie that came out quite a few years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm gonna wait for you. You're most likely talking about Pride.
Yes.
That Terrence Howard and
Yes.
Bernie Mac.
Yes.
Yes.
That movie. I didn't know that story until I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And so, and that would, I know there are certain movies out there that are impactful. I would have thought that would have been one of them, just like Drumline, did a whole lot for HBCU bands.
Yeah.
Just like Real World did for HBCUs in general.
No, I think Pride had a big impact. Again, it put swimming as a competitive sport on the big screen, and it shined a light on Blacks, people of color, coming from underserved communities and being able to get into spaces that you didn't normally see us in. But it's one of those things where it needs a sequel.
Right.
It needs a part 2. You know what I mean? And it should be a part of what's kind of next. And the gentleman that the movie was made based on the life of was Coach Jim Ellis, who's still coaching to this day. Hall of Famer, is amazing, and he's still producing world-class swimmers to this day. So and his influence and his impact, his coaching tree, the amount of people who have come from his coaching and from his programs, whether it be in a short term or a long term or just knowledgeable. I mean, I think about all the time his impact, and I think about some of the ways and the ideas that he had, and I incorporate those into the things that I do on a daily basis. So it certainly has had an impact. I think, again, it's one of those things that need to be re-aired, or there needs to be a part 2, for it to have, an in the moment, like this particular time in impact and keep rolling.
Okay. Well, hopefully something will happen, and like I said, because it is needed. We need to have, as HBCUs. I know the funding model for a lot of them is different. I mean, difficult rather. I was just speaking to an HBCU administrator about this a couple of weeks ago. About how a lot of HBCU athletic programs might be struggling, and HBCUs in general, but there are also a lot of HBCU athletic programs that are doing some real good things out there. It's just that some of them are not as publicized. Like, you have a great SID with Derek Ryan.
Yeah.
And so, but everybody doesn't have a Derek Ryan.
Right.
So that, that might be one of the places where we need to start filling gaps, so that the word gets out about all these great things that our HBCU athletic departments are doing. Some of them, small HBCUs that are not, they might be D2, they might be NAIA. But they're still doing great things on their level. Some of them might be USCAA or NCCAA. We got it. For instance, up the street from me, and I cover them, and they only have this institution only has 3 sports. But their NCCAA, their women's basketball team. And when I say last year, I'm talking about 24. they won a national championship.
Oh, wow.
This year they were runner-up by 3 points.
Oh, wow.
Before that, a small school down in Texas won a men's basketball national championship in the USCAA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think, was it this year? Might have been last year. An HBCU in the USCAA. Wait, might have been this year. I think they won there was a HBCU this year that won a women's volleyball national championship in the USCAA.
Okay.
We've had institutions that won men and women's track and field in the USCAA, which is called, they term their organization small college.
Yeah.
It's a small college national championship. Okay. But we have a lot of them doing things, but you don't hear anything about this.
Yeah. And that, that's unfortunate for sure, because I think when I took over the program in 2014, that was a part of the many bullet points that I had is I wanted to be able to magnify our narrative. I knew, even though we had been 0-300 over the last, almost 15 years, we had won 0 dual meets. I knew there were stories to tell, and I knew there was progress to be made. And in order to do that, Derek will tell you, we had to make sure that we didn't lead with Howard Swim and Dive loses again. Howard Swim and Dive, gets demolished. That has to be, we're not hiding the truth that we lost, but the headline needed to be a little bit different. We needed to say Howard University swimmer or diver, breaks a school record, with the loss to Georgetown or something like that. Because otherwise, you know how we are. If the headline is negative like that, why am I reading any deeper? What's going to make me click to see the video if you've already told me that they were spanked? Right. But if you tell me that the good part, that captures my interest and my intrigue. And that was important to me because, again, I knew there were great things to talk about. I knew there were great things to say. I also knew that it was not great to talk about our record yet. And so we had to really, really dig into how do we want to make sure that we got that exposure out there. And we benefited greatly from social media, of putting our stuff out there and being able to continue to upload content and show. And we got a great following from that. And, when we did something special, we pushed it out there as much as we could. And, if I go through my list of text messages and emails, you'll see thousands and thousands of messages sent to not just, friends and family, but to influencers. So, our city council members, to the board of trustees at the university, to, I've sent messages to Oprah and Shaq and been like, hey, look at us, look what we're doing, and sometimes that gets traction, because just recently, last year, the reason we had Simone Manuel at Battle of the Bird last year is because I sent her a message and was like, hey, look what we're doing. We'd love for you to consider. And she got back with us, her people got back with us, and it worked out really well for us. So being able to get that out there, and I know that it's a lot, and being a college coach, being a coach, period, is a lot. But to have to do all these other things, and we're fortunate that we have such a great sports information staff, Derek Bryan, Lisa Fullwood, that they support that, they continue to push those things out there. But I think the coaches, especially in the smaller teams, have to make sure that they're doing a lot more, because a lot of times nobody's going to do it for you, and if they do, they might not do it in a sense that really reflects the stories that you want to push out there.
Right. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that happen where team made it to the conference tournament, but then for whatever odd reason, the SID comes out talking about the coach has never gotten out the first round. Really? Are you serious?
Right. All right. Wow.
So yeah, that's definitely important. And so let us transition because we've been talking for a while. We still haven't talked about your team. And so who were some of the major members of your team this year?
On our men's side, one of our senior men's captain, Tristan Stevens from Chicago, he really was he was the bloodline. He was the heartbeat of the team. And it's special to have a gentleman like Tristan being in that role because, when he first came in, it was a rocky start. We butted heads and there was a lot of hard moments in our relationship as a coach and as an athlete. And I think over the years, we've continued to, develop a stronger relationship to the point where, sometimes he would speak and I'd be like, I felt like I just said that in my head, but he was the mouthpiece. And he really, the team galvanized behind him. And, the reason they did is because they saw within him, this leader that was working super hard, that was super passionate about swimming. And so he was one of our standouts. He swept the 100 and the 200-yard backstroke at conference championships, gold medals in both of those. He was a part of our relays that medaled either first or second. So he's a big point scorer for us. Errol Thompson from the Bahamas, Errol Thompson the third to be exact, from the Bahamas. Another gentleman who wasn't one of our captains, but he absolutely was a leader and a force in the team. He spent countless hours after practice, before practice, on off days, really, really refining his craft and working on his technique and seeking advice. And, those types of things don't go unnoticed. And he ended up this year breaking the school record in the 200 breaststroke. And it was a big point scorer for us again. On the diving board, Zay Swilly was incredible. He came back. He had transferred back to Howard, and he came in and he was the most outstanding diver, this year as a part of the team. Our diving crew, they really stepped up. We had 6 divers this year competing. We took 5 to conference championship. The 6th one broke his foot about 2 weeks before conference. So that was tough going in. But again, because they had such great leadership and they had such a great voice, on the men's side, they really performed, and super proud of them. Our women's team's led by our women's captain, Zuzu Weze, right here from Columbia, Maryland. She got gold in every single event she swam. She had 3 individual events and 4 relays, and she got gold, 7 golds, which is just incredible. And then she was named the most outstanding swimmer. She got the athletic director's award here at Howard for the athletic award ceremony. She was such a voice, such a force all year long in keeping the women's team, along with the other captains, focused and understanding the process. Then you had Shanice Posado, who was a sophomore from Texas. She got 6 gold medals, competed in 6 events, 6 golds. They call her the backstroke Barbie, and just was super incredible. And also to note, Zuzu Weze, she is only the 2nd swimmer in Howard history to get an NCAA cut, and the first woman of color at an HBCU to ever get an NCAA cut. So history again was made by Zuzu. And our team is just packed of good people. And those are just a few of the standouts. I could literally go through the entire roster and tell you, the great things about each and every one of them. And one of the things we said after we won the conference championship, and it was bittersweet because the women were so close, they only lost by 43 points. And the men's team did win. Is such a crazy story of how we got that win. But I said to them, we did it the right way with the right people, because not everybody that started the season finished the season with us. And, we had to make some really tough decisions going along. And that's why this conference championship for the men's side was so emotional, because it could have gone differently. It really could have. We could have won it by so much more, but we also could have lost it by so much more. And, for it the way to unfold the way it did, it meant a lot.
So you're in the Northeastern Conference, which, I mean, it's a lot of schools.
Yeah.
So who are like the major competitors within that conference?
All of them. All of them. Swimming is an interesting sport, just like track and field. You have so many different events where you're trying to cover that spread of events and having the deepest lineup possible to score points and things like that. You can't count anybody out. You can't count any one team out where, you're say, okay, well, they're only good at this. Well, typically all the teams are good at all the events, and then you have the people who are great in certain events, and those are the ones who will likely podium, getting first, second, or third. So everybody's the op. we don't take anyone for granted. We respect everybody, but we fear no one. And we look at it as every event that we go into, something that, again, our men's team captain Tristan really talked to the team about is every time we get ready to swim, the score is 0-0, right? So that they knew that swim mattered, that dive matters, in order to not focus too much on, the past or too far ahead, stay in the present. And so that's something the team really, again, took on every single event when we were en route to this conference championship.
Okay. So now, how did things end for your season?
Yeah, so the conference championship, as we know, men's team were first place and the women's team were second place. Quick story about the championship on the men's side. We went into the final day of competition ahead by like 87 points. It's the number, unfortunately, escapes me in the exact moment, but we were about 87 points ahead going into the final day with only 5 events remaining. And the way swim and dive works is you swim prelims in the morning, and then you qualify the top 16, come back and swim at night, the same events. And that's your opportunity to score. So you cannot score in the morning. You can only score in the evenings. And you have to qualify to be able to swim the same events in the evenings. And we were ahead by like 87 points. And we had gotten to the point where 4 of the 5 events in the night had finished, and we were down by 1 point. So Wagner College had erased an 87-point lead, and they had taken the lead by 1 point going into the final event. And the final event was a 400 freestyle relay. And it was just a movie. Like, it was absolute movie. So many different things happened in that moment. And I remember telling my coaching staff, I have peace. Everything has worked out just as we could have ever planned for it to work out, hope for it to work out. At this point, it's going to be what it's going to be. And our coaches all took a big, deep breath, and we started enjoying the moment. And I think the team recognized that, and then they rallied themselves into a huddle, and we went into the final relay. And there was a lot of excitement going into the relay because the announcer, the entire crowd knew that we had lost the lead. We were down by 1, and Wagner was up. So they were excited. And they were the fastest team on paper. They had the fastest seated time. Long Island University had the fastest 400 freestylers in the conference by the results from the championships thus far. So we knew that we had to win the event to win the meet. And our guys just put their heads down, swam out of their mind fast, and we ended up winning the event, and the entire natatorium erupted by only 0.3 of a second. And you can't even blink that fast. You can't snap that fast. You can't do anything physical that fast by that margin. And I just remember just everything going black, just kind of a moment where the computer resets, and because too many things, too many emotions, too many thoughts were processing, and the computer was like, all right, we need to shut down. And then I picked my head back up and started celebrating with the team, and it was just an amazing moment. Everybody's crying and sobbing because what had seemed like, oh my gosh, had slipped away from us, and just worked out to our favor. And we had four guys on that relay that, again, I had full confidence in. And what's really cool too is our women's team, swam right before that, and I knew that they were angry about, knowing that mathematically they could not close the gap even with the final relay. They really lit the pool on fire, and set the stage, for one final phenomenal race, and that's what the guys did. And I was super proud of our ladies getting gold there, and finishing the championship, on that high note. And so it was phenomenal. And then we finished the season. We went to nationals in Ocala, Florida. Both teams finished in the top 30 at the National Invitational Championship, which is amazing. The best finishes we've ever had from the combined programs. And this is the National Invitational. So this is, so many of the teams across the country coming to compete at this particular championship. And we made finals every single night, and our relay swam extraordinarily well. And to be up against, some of the fastest teams in the country side by side and really measuring up sets a beautiful landscape for our program and where it's come from, even where it's going. So we're glad to have closed out the season that way. And now we're training hard for the next season, and men are trying to repeat, and the women are going to absolutely be chasing after that elusive title that the program, no HBCU has seen a conference championship title in history. So it will be the very first if we're able to achieve it. And I think we have the team to be able to do it.
Yeah, because if you haven't been a spectator to, or coached in, or participated in something like a track meet or swim meet, or even volleyball and some other Olympic sports, it's hard to comprehend the excitement that takes place, especially as a competitor and coach, when you know how many points there are and you're sitting right there. I mean, that's happened to me quite a few times.
Yeah.
Coaching on the track and field side, and okay, well, we have to do such and such in order to win conference. And then somebody digs deep on the last event. The last event is always the 4x4 relay.
Yeah.
So somebody, all of you gonna have to run the race of your life, and these other teams have such and such and such and such, and just having those kids, especially if you're behind, and then having somebody to walk other people down and things like that. That's really exciting. And state championship. Oh man, we're in first place right now, but the other team is just like 2 points behind us.
Yeah.
So we have to stay in front of them in this 4x4 relay.
Yeah.
Because if they pass us, then we're tied.
Yeah.
We're at least tied.
Yeah.
Depending on how far they pass us, if they pass. So you got to keep them behind.
Yeah.
And to have that happen, just like I said, different scenarios, different. I actually even used that once. I don't like lying, but I lied to some of my guys because we had I had told them, their graduation was the day before the state championship. I told them, do not go out to the celebrations after. We got to leave early in the morning to travel to such and such to compete. somebody else comes and tells them to go ahead and do it. I'm the only person on the staff that's won state championship. And so our seniors go out, they have their little fun and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
They were favored to the first event of the day. They were favored. They came in like sixth place because they dragged because that fatigue set in. First event. And so we get down to the last event. They don't know it. The coaches have already seen the points. And so it's like, oh, well, we've already won pretty much.
Uh-huh.
They don't know that.
Yeah.
So, we go into that last event. Something happened in that 4x4. I mean, we scored and everything. And we're standing up, they're doing the presentation. They know that we're in the top 3.
Okay.
So they hear third place. And then there's a long delay. And I'm sitting up there, they're like, Coach, what's happening? What's going on? They've never been in this position.
Uh-huh.
I said, I told you guys not to go out. These things happen and everything. And, well, Coach, I learned a lesson from all the, I mean, it's all the seniors. Coach, we really learned a lesson, we know, we learned, listen to the coach, there's no I in team, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And then they hear second place, which told me when they heard who got second place.
You know who's first. Yeah.
And so, but once again, it's one of those things that's where all of the excitement is, in these different sports when it is close and there are championships on the line.
Yeah.
There's no greater excitement in sport, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what makes sport exciting, because you have that element, right?
Right.
that that parity of not always having blowouts, like having someone so much better. That's why we love the underdogs, right? Because we wanted to see that chance. And it's incredible to be able to have moments where you are directly involved with that. And because we see it in other people and in other circumstances, other teams, and it could even be just virtually, through watching it on happen or watching it on TV or in terms of a movie or a show, but to be involved in it, I mean, you cannot that feeling, you can't get it anywhere else in life. And that's, again, what makes it special.
Well, we've talked about some of the things that makes the Mecca special, especially in swimming and diving, with battle at the Burr, you selling out, your home meets and things like that. But we haven't talked about how you handle the mental aspect for your athletes, because that has become an issue. Thank God that Simone Biles made it a visible issue for the public a few years ago. But how do you handle that for your team?
I think the most important thing, especially, we talk in the Black community, is helping our team and helping those understand that it's okay to not be okay. Typically, we're raised in a space where, get over it, keep your feelings and your emotions, to yourself, and, don't show face. I mean, it's so much of again, just generational trauma, where we had to put on a face where we had to show that things weren't getting to us, right? That we weren't bothered, that we were emotionless. because it would be detrimental to us if we did. And now that we're in a space where we now have those emotions, those feelings, and it's difficult to process, typically we don't see that people are struggling until it's too late. And the first thing we do is we talk about, listen, this is not easy. Let's be upfront. This is going to be difficult. And I need you to understand what the season's going to look like and when the most difficult times are going to come. So we look at our calendar and we talk about, okay, first of the season is going to be super exciting. Those first early morning practices, but then the grind hits and the struggle hits. And next thing you know, you've got, your exams and your midterms and all that stuff. And then the social aspect. And so we actually openly have those conversations. And I think that's one of the best things that we could ever do is to have those open conversations. And then we tell them where their support is, whether it be in the coaching staff, whether it be in their teammates. We have a structure in our program where our captains are equipped to be able to have conversations. Our sidekicks, which are our upperclassmen, are equipped to have conversations. And if they are in a space where the conversation gets too advanced, then they know how to point them in the direction of more advanced staff, whether it be our counseling services, our sports psychotherapists, whether it be in our in our chapel services, wherever the help can come from, we're able to do that. And then if it escalates so much, our administration is prepared to be able to support and accommodate, any type of crisis that might be going on. But it all starts with that open conversation of understanding, as a Black man and as a Black woman, the stigma, right, of mental illness, mental health, mental struggles, etc. That is okay to openly talk about them. There are some things that, we can have a quick discussion about. Okay, I feel better, right? Or like, you know what? I highly advise you to continue, to do this. So because it's real and it's not easy being a person, period, at this day and age. But especially to have so many different things that you feel responsible for, being a good person, your academics, your athletics, all those things can be very, very stressful. And we desire to make sure that we're in a place as a program to be able to assist our student athletes to manage it, because stress is a natural thing. It's something that's going to happen, but the better management support we have around it and techniques we have around it, the better each person's going to be and the better our program's going to be.
So it's almost time for us to wrap up.
Okay.
We've been at this for a while. and like I said, this has been unconventional, something that we're trying season 4, so that there's a more natural flow. Who were some of your influences? And please, go ahead and give them shout outs at this time.
Man, I've been very fortunate. I mean, first and foremost, I'm very spiritual based. I think so much of my influence comes from just Christ-centered thinking, and trying to live. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I work super hard, and I think that our staff is exactly in that same marching. So that's first and foremost. In terms of, my mom, my dad, I gotta shout them out. My brothers, Joe and Mark, my family, my cousins, the upbringing in Kinston, North Carolina of my friends and the community. We grew up in a community where, if you got in trouble at school, you probably heard it at least 4 or 5 times before you got home, right? From the neighborhood, like, you're supposed to do better, and come on, young blood, you ain't supposed to be doing that, et cetera, et cetera. Then you got to get home and hear from your parents, because the community took care of each other. Kinston was a very caring community in my upbringing. So got to shout out, my hometown there, and all of my friends and the parents that I grew up with, and the Howard community. I've had amazing coaches along my life. Starting in North Carolina with Miss Mary Respis, Randy Jarman were incredible coaches. Kenny Carnegie on the tennis side. We didn't even get a chance to talk about my tennis background. But then, when I got to Howard, I was recruited by Dr. E. Newton Jackson, and it's such an amazing influence in my life in terms of how to be organized and really business minded. Coach Larry Strickland, who's an amazing mentor of mine, even to this day. As we continue to go along, I really have benefited from being surrounded by incredible people. It's crazy to think that any one person gets somewhere by themselves. And I know that there have been thousands of influence that I've received to keep me on the path that I'm on, and to, that I get to do what I do and to enjoy it. And, the biggest shout out's got to go to my wife and my girls. She's my Howard sweetheart, and, she and I have been married, for over 15 years now. And she has been my rock. She's the one when I have a tough day, she's the one that has to see, the burden that day has brought on. And, and every time I see her, it just makes the day that much better. And my 3 girls, who are incredible, they're the biggest cheerleaders, for Daddy and for this program ever. And they have been an amazing influence and continue to help me, compartmentalize every single day, because when I go home, whatever the day has brought, I get to smile, because I have such an amazing family. And again, my wife and kids are the reason why I continue to work super hard day in and day out, because they believe in me, and they believe in what I'm doing. And they believe that great things are going to be able to come out of being able to step back up and get right back at it day in and day out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And this has been a great chat. And I'm sure that people have learned a lot about swimming, about different aspects of us as a people, and how that relates to swimming as well.
Yeah.
It was definitely a lot that I learned. And
don't forget,
okay, we'll go ahead
next year.
We'll go ahead and do that.
And then next year.
But you got to remember next year too that you have to talk about your tennis background.
Yes. Our tennis programs are on the come up. We're excited about them. It's a tough journey for both programs, the men's and women's program. But let me tell you, we are fighting. We are fighting for it. And so I know good things are coming. Good things are coming.
Okay. So with that said, we definitely want to thank you, Coach, for being our guest today. And, said this was very enjoyable, and, that we definitely learned a lot. But I also want to thank you, the viewers, for taking the time out of your busy day to come and watch this chat with HBCU Champion. And we encourage you to follow us on social media. You can find us via Linktree at Rice Fame. And we also encourage you to like, share, and comment on this video. Tell us what we can do better. We definitely appreciate your input. And so with that said, we hope that you have a blessed week, Coach.
Thank you.
All of you who viewed us, we hope that you have a blessed week as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago to represent. Jesse James. And this is for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a jumper. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head lump. For my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a jumper. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head lump. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much for supplying her touch. I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.